Ever feel utterly drained after spending time with certain people? Ever find yourself alone late at night questioning your value, wondering how you allowed someone to pull your strings like a puppet? Let me be clear, it's not because you're weak or naive. It's because you're genuine, you're kind-hearted, you're someone who still believes in goodness. But this world, it preys on trust. And that's the danger. You need to hear this. The war for your mind is real. Out there somewhere grins like disguises. They speak in sweet tones, but beneath their charm is poison. And if you don't stay alert, if you don't shield your mind, you'll be swallowed up without even realizing you've stepped into the lion's mouth. Today we pull the curtain back on those who manipulate. Today we unveil their tactics. Today is the day you reclaim your power. First, they twist reality until you no longer trust yourself. There's a quiet moment, a whisper of doubt when you sense something is off. You remember the promises, the conversations, the weight of what transpired. But when you finally speak up, when you voice your truth, they spin it until you question whether it ever even happened. These manipulators, they're not confrontational in the way you expect. They don't throw punches. They sow confusion. They entangle your memories and lies so tightly that eventually you lose grip on what's real. If you're not rooted in your truth, you'll get caught in their chaos before you even notice it. They're subtle. They sneak in with half-truths, gentle tones, selective facts. They leave out crucial details, revise narratives, and suddenly you're defending yourself against accusations that make no sense. They argue with a calm demeanor, feigned sorrow, and a practiced innocence, making you feel guilty for emotions you had every right to feel. One conversation at a time, they chip away at your reality. It's not loud, it's not obvious, it's gradual, it's calculated, and it's devastating. That's the trap. The longer you stay, the more you try to make sense of their lies, the more you lose yourself. Because manipulators, they understand power lies in truth. And if they can get you to doubt your truth, if they can blur the line between what's real and what's false, they've got control. You begin to second-guess your instincts, your recollections, your emotional reactions. You fall silent, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're exhausted from defending what you know to be true. They wear you down with relentless distortion until you give up, and that's exactly what they want. You might think I'm too smart for that. I'd never let someone manipulate me. But this isn't about intelligence or willpower, it's about empathy. Manipulation works precisely because you care, because you listen, because you're willing to compromise and see the good in others. That's what makes you vulnerable. Manipulators sense that compassion. They see your softness and scheme to exploit it. They rely on your instinct to give the benefit of the doubt. They count on your desire to keep the peace, and every time you yield, every time you explain away their behavior, they gain another inch. What they're really doing is crafting a distorted world where they're always the victim and you're always to blame, even when caught red-handed. They twist things so skillfully that you question if you overreacted or misunderstood. They'll resurrect old wounds not to heal but to weaponize. They'll pry into your past, uncover your insecurities, and use them to reshape the present. They'll label you overly emotional, say your memory is faulty, insist, "That's not what I said," and you start spinning in circles, unsure of what's real anymore. It's a slow erosion, cut by cut, moment by moment. If you ever find yourself needing to record conversations just to feel sane, if you're constantly apologizing but unsure what you even did, if you enter discussions feeling grounded but leave feeling disoriented and unsure, hear this. You are not losing your mind. You are being manipulated. Your spirit is under siege, and the longer you remain, the more fragments of yourself slip away. Because in the manipulator's playbook, confusion is no accident. It's the strategy. It keeps you small. It dims your light. It turns your vibrant soul into a faint shadow. The worst part? Manipulation doesn't come dressed as a villain. It wears the mask of love. It hides as loyalty. It whispers, "I'm only trying to help." It plays calm while you unravel, making it seem like you're the unstable one. They provoke you behind closed doors, then feign innocence when you react, making you look unhinged while they play the victim. It's a twisted game, but you don't have to play. You don't have to explain yourself to someone who rewrites your truth. You don't have to bend to fit their false version of who you are. Your truth is real. Your emotions are valid. Your memory is intact. When someone tries to rewrite your story, you don't need to fight. Just stand firm in your truth. Don't engage in endless debates. Don't chase approval from someone who thrives on your doubt. Step back. Watch. Trust your inner voice. And when the signs are there, when the gaslighting begins, walk away. Because your peace is worth more than any justification. You weren't meant to live in someone else's storm. You were made for truth, for light, for clarity. And while your truth may be attacked, it will never be destroyed. Cling to it like your lifeline, because it is. You don't owe endless forgiveness to someone who uses it as a weapon. You don't owe blind trust to someone who abuses it. You owe yourself freedom. You owe yourself peace. When they come for your clarity, when they try to twist your sense of self, you meet their gaze and declare, I know who I am. I know what I lived, and I won't be deceived again. Second, they use the victim card to break your defenses. There's a kind of pain that doesn't stem from what someone does to you. It comes from what they convince you to believe about yourself. Manipulators don't always come with rage. Sometimes they approach with tears in their eyes, shaky voices and broken stories designed to tug at your heart and dissolve your resolve. They paint themselves as victims so convincingly that you forget what upset you in the first place. Suddenly your pain takes a back seat. Your anger feels unjustified. Your truth gets drowned out by their performance. Their mistakes become your burden. Before long, you're the one apologizing. You're soothing them, cleaning up the emotional wreckage they caused. That's their tactic, using guilt cloaked in sadness. They know you care. They know your compassion is a doorway, and they slip through it like it's theirs to claim. Your empathy becomes a tool not for healing, but for control. They present themselves as misunderstood hurt or well-intentioned victims. They murmur, I never meant to hurt you, or you're making me feel terrible, or I can't believe you think I'd ever do that to you. And just like that, your strength begins to erode. You feel mean for enforcing your boundaries, cruel for standing your ground. That's their manipulation at its finest, flipping the narrative until you feel like the villain. And it's not always fake. Sometimes they really are hurting, but their pain doesn't undo the damage they caused. Their sadness doesn't absolve their actions. But a manipulator will pile their suffering on top of yours until you're carrying both loads. They'll claim your truth hurts them, that your distance is betrayal, that your healing breaks their spirit. They'll cry harder, bleed deeper, mourn louder, or at least pretend to. And if you're not careful, you'll spend all your emotional energy patching their wounds while your own bleeds silently. It's a dangerous cycle because most good-hearted people stay too long with someone they pity. They stay to avoid causing more pain. Manipulators know this. They exploit it. They use their own brokenness not to heal but to dominate. They make you feel like you're responsible for their happiness, their peace, their healing. And the moment you shoulder that burden, you give up your freedom. You become a version of yourself that exists solely for their comfort, so they never have to face their own consequences. But let this be clear. Protecting your peace does not make you heartless. Setting boundaries is not cruel. Refusing to be controlled by tears isn't evil. Compassion doesn't mean you owe someone access to your life. You can care and still choose to walk away. Manipulators will twist your decision to prioritize yourself into a weapon of guilt. They'll say you're abandoning them, hurting them. But that's the trap to make you equate self-respect with cruelty. Don't fall for it. That's the lie that keeps you stuck, drowning in shame and obligation. But the truth is, you are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to say no. Yes, the hardest moments come when their pain seems so real, when their tears seem honest, when their despair feels like a rope pulling you back into the storm. You'll want to rescue them. You'll want to believe that more love, more forgiveness will make it right. But hear this, you cannot save others by sacrificing yourself. You can't fix someone else's damage by breaking your own soul. You are not their redeemer. Their healing is their job, not yours. Manipulators who play the victim will never take accountability. Each time you express your pain, they'll answer with theirs. You'll point out their actions and they'll deflect with their suffering. It's not about resolution, it's about distraction. They want to tangle you in their sorrow until you lose track of your truth. You'll end up defending them, forgetting yourself, bleeding for someone who keeps your wounds invisible. Real victims seek healing. Real victims take responsibility even while hurting, but manipulators turn weakness into weapons. They need you to feel bad so they can avoid accountability. If you don't recognize it, you'll drown in a guilt that doesn't even belong to you. So stand tall, stay grounded. You can be kind without being conquered. Your empathy is sacred, not a shackle. And once you understand that not every cry deserves a rescue, you reclaim your power. You stop spinning to the tune of their sorrow. You stop apologizing for being hurt. You begin living your truth loudly and unapologetically. You begin healing not through their chaos, but through your peace. And when they cry harder, plead louder, paint you as the villain for choosing yourself, you keep walking, not with coldness, but with clarity, because now you know your healing isn't negotiable. Third, they lure you in with praise. Ever noticed how the most flattering words can come wrapped around the sharpest traps? Manipulators are masters at baiting. Before they can control you, they need to charm you. And how do they do it? With praise so sweet, it disarms your defenses. They'll say you're exceptional. They'll claim you're the only one who gets them. They'll call you rare, precious, too good for the world. And it feels wonderful. It feels like someone finally sees you. But be cautious. Admiration isn't always sincere. Genuine flattery builds you up, but manipulators, they flatter you not to honor you, but to bind you. They tell you exactly what you've longed to hear because they know you're hungry for validation. They sense the scars on your soul. They watch for your emotional gaps. Then they mold their words to fit your deepest needs. At first you feel elevated, seen, cherished. But that high comes with a hidden price because once they've lifted you, they start pulling strings. They never meant to build you up for your sake. It was always about how you could serve theirs. So when admiration rushes in too quickly, too heavily, ask yourself why. True love, true respect grows steadily. It doesn't crash into your life like a tidal wave. Real admiration doesn't confuse your mind or cloud your vision. But manipulators don't want clarity. They want you intoxicated by their approval. They want you dependent on their praise. Because once you crave their compliments, they hold power. They become the switch that controls your self-worth. One day they're full of love bombs, the next they're silent. Suddenly you're chasing their approval like it's oxygen. You begin bending in ways you never imagined, just for a scrap of, you did well. That's how flattery becomes a chain. They condition you obey and they praise you. Disobey, and they withdraw affection. It's not love, it's manipulation in disguise. And when the compliments stop, you panic, questioning what you did wrong. You adjust, you please, you twist yourself to win back that affection. That's the trap where you're no longer being appreciated, but used. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be honored, but not at the cost of your freedom, not with strings attached, not on the condition that you surrender your power. Real love doesn't smother you with sugar-coated control. Real love doesn't inflate your ego today to manipulate your soul tomorrow. It uplifts because you are already worthy. No payment required. Learn to discern when words are genuine gratitude and when they're bait. What's the hidden cost of their praise? Flattery is dangerous because it speaks to the fragile part of you that just wants to feel enough. And manipulators whisper right into that spot. They make you believe you've stepped into the spotlight finally. Then they make you dance for it. They don't admire you for your soul. They admire what your soul gives them. They use your light to reflect better on themselves. They twist your generosity into flexibility, and before you know it, you're contorting to meet their expectations. Be stronger than the sugar. Know your worth so deeply that no compliment can make you lose your ground. When someone truly values you, they don't need to flatter excessively. Their love shows through action, consistency, and respect. They uplift without demanding performance. They see you without needing you to prove yourself. And when you understand your own value, you won't be fooled. You'll feel it in your spirit when kindness is genuine and when it's a leash. The greatest freedom you'll ever find is not needing someone's flattery to feel whole. You don't need applause to know you matter. You don't need to shrink yourself for praise. When your self-worth is rooted deep inside, no sweet talk can steal it. You can smile at a compliment, say thank you, and keep walking unshaken, untouched, free. Because real power isn't built on the words others speak about you. It's built on what you believe about yourself when no one's watching. Stay grounded, stay alert, stay free. Fourth, they twist your empathy into a weapon. Some wounds cut deeper than blades. It's the moment you realize that your most beautiful qualities, your kindness, your compassion, your empathy have been turned against you. Manipulators don't always strike directly. They don't storm in. They creep in quietly, carrying wounds, looking helpless. They find the healer in you, the part of you that wants to nurture, protect, and believe in goodness, and they exploit that. They take your compassion and use it like a lever. They turn your mercy into a tool for control. If you don't recognize what's happening, you'll keep bleeding for someone who never even offers you a bandage. They tell sad stories. They bear their pain. They open up about their trauma. And because your heart is open, you respond. You offer comfort. You believe they just need love. You take on the role of savior, protector, lifeline. But they're not looking for healing. They're feeding off your light, feeding off your need to fix things. And every time your gut starts whispering that something's off, every time your spirit raises a red flag, they respond with just enough sorrow to pull you back in. They show just enough vulnerability to make you feel cruel for walking away. They wield their wounds as both shield and sword, and before you know it, you're the one apologizing. You're the one justifying. You're the one silencing your truth for the sake of their sadness. And this isn't because you're foolish, it's because you're human. It's a sacred gift to feel deeply. But hear this, your empathy must have edges. Your kindness must come with discernment. Because manipulators see your willingness to help, and they exploit it. They make you responsible for mending their brokenness, for carrying their chaos. And if you allow it, they'll convince you that real love means losing yourself. But true love doesn't destroy. It doesn't demand self-erasure. It doesn't ask you to abandon your peace. You can be merciful and still walk away. You can care and still say enough. If giving constantly leaves you depleted, if you end up feeling small, broken, and guilty, then you're not in love. You're in a trap. That's not compassion. That's emotional warfare, dressed in vulnerability. You have every right? No, every obligation to guard your spirit. You don't have to suffer endlessly for someone else's healing. That's not your job. You're not God. You're not a martyr. You're not their emotional crutch. You are responsible for your light, for your boundaries, for your life. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Sometimes real love is refusing to be used as a bandage. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally care about yourself too. Healing only begins when someone chooses it for themselves, not when they manipulate you into doing it for them. Your empathy is powerful, but it's not infinite. It's not for sale. It's not theirs to exploit. So don't harden your heart. Just fortify it. Know the difference between someone who needs help and someone who wants to keep you bound, between a wounded soul ready to rise and one pretending to be weak to keep you captive. Love wisely. Help with open eyes. Give with care, but never feel guilty for protecting the miracle that is your soul. At the end of the day, your first responsibility is to save yourself. You were made to pour out love, but not to be drained dry. You were meant to help others, but not at the cost of losing who you are. So let your heart stay soft, but let your spirit be unshakable. And when you see someone twisting your empathy, you lift your chin, stand tall, and say, "I love you, but I love me too." And then you walk away, not with hate, but with freedom. Fifth, they manufacture chaos to keep you distracted. Ever feel like you're trapped in a storm you never started? Thunder crashing around your mind, wind carrying lies into your ears, lightning striking your inner peace over and over, and you're standing there confused, asking, "How did I end up in this mess?" Here's the truth. Manipulators stir up chaos deliberately. They disrupt your world so you can't see straight. They flood your senses with noise, anxiety, confusion so much that you can't even hear your intuition anymore. They'll provoke meaningless arguments, pick fights over nothing, start conflict at the worst possible time. They'll accuse you, twist your words, question your motives, anything to throw you off balance. Because when you're overwhelmed, you're easier to sway. When you're emotionally exhausted, your walls come down. You begin accepting things you once said you never would, just for a little peace. But that peace, it never lasts, because manipulators aren't after calm, they're after control. They keep you running in circles, constantly, reacting, constantly doubting, constantly trying to keep things from falling apart. They don't want resolution. They want you distracted, too tired to ask questions, too confused to see the truths. They watch as you spiral. They sit back with a cool face watching you unravel and still act like they're the calm in the storm. They'll label you too sensitive, too dramatic, while they're the ones setting emotional fires behind closed doors. That's gaslighting, when someone makes you question your own sanity while they quietly cause the chaos they blame you for. It's not an accident, it's a tactic. They'll create drama right when you're about to see clearly. They'll spark confusion when the truth is close. They'll cause emotional fires to cover up their lies. Because if you're busy cleaning up messes, they made you won't have the time or strength to notice who's actually behind it all. The goal: keep you so tired that you forget what peace even feels like. So drained that you'll settle for less and call it love. But you weren't born for battles every day. You weren't created to live in crisis mode. Life is already challenging without someone throwing grenades at your heart. Love isn't supposed to feel like fear. Respect doesn't feel like chaos. A true relationship builds. Calm builds safety, builds stability. If someone constantly drags you into chaos, they don't love you, they control you. And you don't owe your loyalty to anyone who feeds off your exhaustion. You owe it to yourself to walk away. You were made for more, made for peace, made for clarity. You were meant to stand tall, not shrink under pressure, but that can't happen if you're living in someone else's storm. You can't build a future if every day is spent cleaning up emotional wreckage. You have to recognize the pattern, call it what it is, and then choose to walk out of the storm and back into yourself. Leaving chaos behind isn't weakness, it's strength. It's choosing life over emotional destruction. It's self-respect in motion. It's declaring, I was not born for this mess. So the next time someone tries to pull you into confusion, pause, breathe. Listen to the still voice inside you that knows better. Because true love doesn't start fires, it brings peace. True partners don't confuse you, they ground you. Real connection calms the storm, it doesn't cause it. So say no to their drama, say yes to your clarity, say yes to your peace. You don't have to weather their storm anymore. You are free to walk into the light. Sixth, they use guilt as their chain. Guilt doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it slips in softly, whispering in the quiet, curling itself around your heart until you can't breathe. Manipulators know how to wield guilt, not to help you grow or make peace, but to control you, to keep you tethered to them with invisible chains. They understand that if they can make you feel responsible enough, they can get you to do anything. You'll stay when you know you should leave. You'll agree when you want to say no. You'll give up your joy just to make them comfortable. They'll call you selfish for setting a boundary. They'll say you don't care when you finally stand up for yourself. They'll weaponize their past good deeds, reminding you of everything they ever did for you, not out of kindness, but as leverage. After all I've done for you, they'll twist your loyalty into a leash. They'll turn your kindness into a burden. And because you're a good person, because you genuinely care, you fall into the trap. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to let anyone down. But here, this guilt should never be the foundation of love. It should never be the currency of loyalty. If someone truly cares about you, they won't manipulate you through guilt. They won't hold you hostage with a scoreboard of favors. Love sets you free. Manipulation traps you. They know you're driven by empathy, by duty, by compassion. They take those beautiful parts of you and twist them into a cage. They make you believe that walking away is betrayal, that choosing peace is unforgivable, that putting yourself first is the ultimate crime. You don't owe your life to anyone who demands it in return for love. You don't owe endless sacrifice to someone who turns your goodness against you. Even if you've made mistakes, even if you've stumbled, you don't deserve to live under a dark cloud of shame. Manipulators want you to forget that forgiveness is free, that redemption is possible, that growth is your birthright. They need you to stay stuck in a loop of not enough, not loyal enough, not loving enough, not grateful enough, because when you keep trying to earn their love, you stay under their thumb. They don't want your freedom, they want your guilt, because guilt keeps you giving, it keeps you silent, it keeps you small. Every time you begin to rise, they pull that chain. Remember what I've done for you, remember who was there for you, but real relationships don't tally debts. Real love doesn't require repayment. It offers grace, not guilt. You must see when guilt is being used to bind, not bless. Real guilt leads to growth. Toxic guilt leads to control. If someone constantly makes you feel like you're bad, unless you do what they want, that's not love, it's emotional slavery. You deserve more. You deserve space to breathe without being yanked back. You deserve the right to choose your life without being haunted by false debts. The way to freedom is paved with forgiveness, not just for them, but for yourself. Forgive yourself for not knowing better. Forgive yourself for staying too long. Forgive yourself for the lies you believed. Then break the chain. Don't carry guilt that was never yours. Don't conform to expectations that crush your soul. Don't allow anyone to use your heart against you. You were created to be free, to walk tall, to live boldly. Yes, they'll be angry when you finally break free. They'll call you cold, ungrateful, cruel. But that's because they know once you taste freedom, their control ends. Let them talk. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your choices, and I promise you freedom suits you. Guilt was never meant to be your prison. So the next time guilt creeps in, urging you back to something toxic, pause, breathe, remember who you are. You are not what they say. You are not their prisoner. You are a child of God meant for freedom, for purpose, for truth. No one gets to shackle you to your past. No one gets to guilt you out of your future. Break the chain. Walk free. The life you were meant for is waiting just beyond the guilt. Seventh, they isolate you from your strength. Manipulators understand one thing deeply. If you stay connected to your power, they can't control you. So they begin tearing down every bridge that links you to your inner strength quietly, deliberately, and over time. They chip away at the foundations of your confidence. They make you question the very qualities that make you resilient. They don't just isolate you from friends or family, they isolate you from yourself. It all begins in the mind. If they can invade your thoughts, they can suppress your spirit. They want you to forget your fire. They want your instincts to feel like flaws. They want you small, uncertain, and dependent. When you speak up, they say you're overreacting. When you set boundaries, they accuse you of being difficult. When you call out the lies, they make you feel unstable, and gradually you begin to distrust your own inner voice. They drown out your intuition with confusion, guilt, and fear. They twist your emotions, your convictions, and even your sense of reality. They'll tell you that strength is selfish, that asking for respect is weakness, that speaking your truth is offensive. Soon, the very instincts meant to protect you start to feel like enemies. They also separate you from anyone who reminds you of your worth. They plant doubts about the people who care. They don't really support you. They're jealous. They're using you. And slowly you withdraw. Not because those people left, but because you were convinced to push them away. That's how they gain control, by cutting off every source of truth, connection, and love that could challenge their narrative. Alone in the dark, their lies sound a lot like truth. And when you're completely isolated, you begin looking to them for validation. You ask them what's real, what's true, what's right. And trust me, they won't remind you of your greatness. They'll feed you just enough warmth to keep you coming back, then strip it away the moment you resist. A sprinkle of kindness followed by a flood of criticism, a fleeting moment of affection followed by cold control. That's how they keep you disoriented and doubting. But listen to me now. You were born strong. You were created with vision, with power, with fire in your bones. No one can take that unless you hand it over. Reclaiming your strength starts by recognizing the pattern. Wake up to the isolation. Remember this, your real friends still care. Your inner wisdom never left. That small voice inside, the one that sees the truth, it's still speaking. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're not crazy. You're awakening. You've got to fight to reconnect with your strength, reach out, rebuild, reattach to the truths and the people that remind you who you are. The enemy wants you isolated because fear grows in silence. But courage is born in connection. Truth nurtures boldness. You were never meant to walk through life alone, doubting your every step. You were made to rise, to speak, to love courageously, to walk in unwavering confidence. You've already survived storms, you've already climbed mountains, you've already won battles others never saw. You are not broken. You are still standing. You are still powerful. And the isolation ends today. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to live in their shadow. Truth, strength, clarity, these are your birthrights. Take them back. Stand up, stand firm, break free from the walls they built around you. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your light. Speak your truth until you believe it again. Because once you remember your strength, their grip is gone. They only win when you forget who you are. And now you remember. Eighth, they disguise control as love. Perhaps the most dangerous tactic a manipulator uses is pretending to love you while tightening their grip around your life. They don't come at you with aggression. No, they arrive gently, tenderly, dressed as everything you've prayed for. They watch you closely, learning what moves your heart. They study your hopes, your insecurities, your desires, and then they package all that information into a version of themselves that feels perfect, like a dream come true. At first, it's magic. They see you, they hear you, they flood you with attention and make you feel safe. You open up walls down heart, exposed, you trust, you give, you love. And it works for a while, but then it changes. Slowly, subtly, the love that lifted you begins to restrict you. The support turns into control. The encouragement becomes a mask for manipulation. They start shaping your choices, redirecting your thoughts, asking for little sacrifices that keep growing bigger. They say, "I just want what's best for you," while steering you away from your dreams. "I'm doing this because I love you," they whisper as they bind you tighter with invisible ropes. Their affection always comes with conditions. Their love has strings attached. Expectations rules punishments. Do what they want and they reward you with warmth. Disobey and the temperature drops. And because you remember the beauty of how it started, you keep trying to bring that version back. You bend. You give more. You shrink, hoping your compliance will make things right again. But that's not love. That's ownership. True love doesn't require you to erase yourself. It doesn't punish you for saying no. It doesn't ask for your silence, your surrender, your submission. Manipulators are experts at counterfeiting love. They wear the mask so well, even you start defending it. You begin excusing their behavior. You begin doubting your pain. You wonder, maybe this is what love takes. But here's the test. Love doesn't leave you anxious. Love doesn't demand your sacrifice to prove its worth. Love doesn't twist loyalty into chains. And when you finally begin to wake up, when the cracks in the mask become impossible to ignore, they flip it all on you. They accuse you of betrayal. They remind you of everything they've done for you. They weaponize every moment of kindness to guilt you into staying. They need you to believe that leaving them is destroying something beautiful, but it's not. What you're leaving behind isn't love, it's a lie wrapped in tenderness. So look beyond the mask, examine the fruit. Does it bring you peace, joy, security, or do you walk on eggshells, second-guessing yourself, afraid to breathe too deeply? True love liberates, it empowers, it protects. It doesn't leave you confused, afraid, or ashamed. You are allowed to question love that hurts. You are allowed to walk away from control, even if it's dressed in the language of care. And yes, it's devastating to realize the love you thought you had wasn't real. It hurts to grieve a dream, but it's better to lose the illusion than to live a life enslaved to it. You deserve a love that doesn't wear masks, a love that doesn't shrink your soul, a love that meets you in truth, in freedom, in mutual respect. So breathe, let go, wipe your tears. Step back into your own light, into the truth of who you are. You are loved without needing to be controlled. You are valuable without needing to prove it. You are worthy without submission. Never again confuse a cage for a home. Never again accept control disguised as devotion. Choose love that frees you. Choose peace. Choose you. As we bring this journey to its end, let this truth settle deep within you. Manipulation isn't love. It isn't care. It's control delivered in small doses, wrapped in false affection, slowly replacing clarity with confusion until you don't know which way is up. But hear me clearly, you were never meant to live like that. You were born with discernment. You were made to recognize truth, to feel peace, to stand tall in your own identity. You are not a puppet. You're not someone's emotional pawn. You are a full, powerful human being with a voice, with wisdom, with worth. And when someone steps into your life wearing the disguise of love but bringing manipulation, it's your sacred duty to see through the act, to call it what it is, to walk away not in weakness but in strength. You don't need anyone else to tell you who you are. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need approval to set boundaries. The moment you reclaim your power is the moment their power over you dies. Stop making space for those who manipulate through guilt. Stop chasing validation from people who reward obedience and punish authenticity. Love doesn't silence you. Real love doesn't require you to disappear. The love you deserve lifts you, encourages you, stands beside you, not over you. So right now, take a breath. Feel that strength in your chest. It's always been there. That unshakable knowing that you are enough exactly as you are. Not because someone approves, not because someone flatters, but because your worth is not up for debate. Don't let anyone shrink you with their lies. Your truth is your superpower. It's your compass. It's the light that leads you out of any dark place. I believe in your power. I believe in your healing. And I believe that the moment you step away from manipulation and into your own truth, joy will find you. Peace will find you. The life you deserve will start to unfold. So rise today. Stand rooted. Move forward with fierce courage and full confidence. Don't let anyone's opinion rewrite your story, because your worth was never theirs to define. Thank you for choosing to grow, for reflecting, for remembering who you are. Keep choosing freedom. Keep choosing your voice. Keep walking the path of truth. And know this, you're not alone. God is with you. Strength surrounds you. Better days are already being written in your favor. Hold your head high. Stay grounded in truth. And always, always remember, the best is still to come.